Hello everyone, very good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome back to my channel, which is Certified Business Analysis Professional, and my name is Varun. So thank you everyone for your support, and today we'll continue with the knowledge area, which is solution evaluation, and the second activity or the task of that knowledge area, which is analyze performance measures. So today we'll talk about analyze performance measure, and the inputs are potential value, solution performance measures, and the output is solution performance analyzed. And we already have done with the first task, which is measure solution performance in a previous session or previous video. So what are the objectives? So first of all, analyze the performance measure. What does it talks about? It talks about the measures, right? So in our first session, we talked about the performance measures we talked about the KPIs, how we are measuring the performance. And for that, what are the factors or the indicators? For an example, if we are talking about the car, right? The performance of the car, you can track it by the mileage, right? That's the performance, that's the mileage of the car. And the pickup, right? In how much speed it picks up it in a second basis, right? And how long the car is running, how efficient is the car in terms of the fuel or the gas that you are giving, and how much kilometers of the miles the car is running. That's that the mileage. So those are the indicators to track the performance or measure the performance of a car, right? In a similar way, there are different solutions that we are creating, and in order to measure the performance, we set the different key performance matrices. We'll talk about this key performance indicator by giving one more example in the same slide. But first, now here what we are talking about, analyze the performance measure. We are trying to analyze the measures, right, that you are using to track the performance. Those measures we are trying to analyze if those measures are correct, efficient, right, and will give the expected value. So these things we will measure in this. So the objective is to provide insights into the performance of a solution in relation to the value it brings. The measures collected in previous activity often require interpretation and synthesis to derive meaning and to be actionable. We'll talk about this. Performance measures themselves rarely trigger a decision about the value of. Now, let's say you have created a website. You have created a website that deals in, let's say, some products, um, like the toys, right? The kids' toys. Now you want to promote your website, so you have given your website to the Google. That you have given some money to the Google and you asked to promote your website on their search page. Whenever user is searching for any toy, the Google should tell the user that this is the website from where you can buy the toys or you can see the toys. So you have you have decided to do this promotion, right? So what you have done is you have invested $500 and you got the revenue of $1,000 on 500 investment. Now what Google will do, what Google has done is, whenever user is searching on Google for some toys, the Google has displayed your website somewhere on his page, and it shown your website around 10,000 times, right? But user has clicked only 10 times. This means either your website or your product that the Google has shown on a website on their search pages was not attractive at all, okay, or the content was not good, which is not appealing to the end users or the buyer. So that's why you get very less clicks, right? But for you, how you're going to measure the performance? So the way of measuring the performance is you set the some key performance indicator. So just you have invested $500 and you earn the revenue of 1,000, doesn't tell everything, doesn't tell every story, right? If you look like 500, 500, 500, now you got the revenue 1,000, 2,000 and 100. So um, these two information does not tell you everything, right? So in order to um, make it more meaningful, based on which you should able to take a decision for the further promotions or about your content on the website, about the products that you're displaying. So you need some key performance indicators, which we generally refer to as conversion metrics as well. So these are the conversion metrics: impression per click, revenue per impression, revenue per investment. Now, here in the first row, you can see $500 invested, 1,000 revenue generated, impression were 10,000 given by Google, only 10 users click on that. So the impression per click through rate is very, very, very low. Revenue is not so good. Revenue per impression is not so good. Revenue per investment, it's good, right? So you have done a different investment. Let's say first you have given to the Google, the second time you have given to the Yahoo, the third time you have given to some other third-party platforms. But the key performance indicators that you use to track the performance are the key performance matrices, right? Now you set the targets, okay? If the impression click-through rate comes greater than zero point 0.7, then that would be on target. If that is less than that, that you need to do some performance improvement, some content, modification or product image modification, those sort of things you have to do. The revenue per impression should be greater than 1, and the revenue per investment should be greater than 2. So these are the matrices, indicators that you have set to measure the performance. So based on that, it is clearly visible here that the third promotion was giving you a good impression per click-through rate, and the first and the second one is giving, first one giving you revenue per investment, good revenue per investment, and the second one is giving you revenue per impression and revenue per investment, which is greater than the targets. Then based on these decision matrices or key performance indicators, you take a decision. So now read it through again. The measures collected in previous activity often require interpretation and synthesis to derive meaning and to be actionable. Performance measures themselves rarely trigger a decision about the value of a solution. To meaningfully analyze performance measure, business analysts require a thorough understanding of the potential value that stakeholders hope to achieve with the solution. Variables such as the goals objective of the enterprise, key performance indicators, the level of the risk of the solution, the risk tolerance of both stakeholders and the enterprises, and other stated targets are considered. Now let's talk about the inputs and the output. So here we get the two major inputs, which is potential value and the solution measure. Why the potential value? It tells about the expected potential value from the future state. So whenever we talks about the future state, then and there we decide, then and there we set the baseline that this is the expected value that we should achieve out when we are in a future state. So that act as a benchmark against which solution performance can be evaluated. So once you are in a future state, then what is the actual and the original performance you are getting out of that solution is being compared with the baseline, the expected performance, and the variance that is coming. Based on that variance, you decide like how you want to improve the performance of the solution. And the second is solution performance measure itself. So measures like the KPIs or indicators, the measures and provides information on how well the solution is performing or potentially could perform. So it's talk about the first the measures, the key performance indicator, what key performance indicators we have to set, and the second one, how well the solution is performing or potentially could perform. So that decision is come out of only solution performance measures when you analyze it. Other inputs like guidelines and tools. So what does change strategy talks about? A strategy that is currently used to implement the potential value, that is of very important factor, plays very important factor here. Then the future state description. The future state description tells about the boundaries of the proposed, new, modified or removed components of the enterprise and the potential value expected from the future state. Risk analysis results. Risk and the approach is to modify the individual risk, because this is all about the decision. So you talk, you also take the decisions like to mitigate or to accept the risk or to transfer the risk. Solution scope, the solution boundaries to measure and evaluate. And then finally we get the solution performance analysis, results of the analysis of the measurements collected and recommendation to solve performance gaps and leverage opportunities to improve the value. So the very first element here is solution performance versus desired value. The performance of the solution and what you are desired or what value you are expecting out of that solution. So we are talking about this. So business analysts examine the measures. Measures means the key performance indicators previously collected to assess their ability to help stakeholders understand the solution value, right? Now, the solution might be high performing, such as an efficient online transaction processing system, but contributes lower value than expected or compared to what it had contributed in the past. To give an example here, let's talk about the defense truck from today. Let's go back 20 years in past. And there you have those big army trucks who's used to carry the soldiers at the back. The seats are very uncomfortable. Those traditional seats, soldiers generally used to stand or sit on those chairs and traveling over the long distance. But that was very uncomfortable. So that was at that point of time, that solution was relevant because no other competitors were there, only limited automotive industries who are providing these trucks and all sort of services to the defense. So they have that only option to travel a long distance in a quick time. But now today, if we talk about, there are a lot of other automotive, competitors who are providing different big trucks, buses with comfortable seats, full of entertainment, with a lot of other services like internet, food, and snacks. So everything is there. So that is now providing a good value to the soldier, right? So now if we talk about the soldier, would they like to go in those traditional trucks or in today's this advanced buses? So obviously they will choose the advanced buses because that's giving a value to the soldier. On the other hand, a low performing but potentially valuable solution. It could be that the solution is still valuable, but it is not giving that much performance. For an example, there is a big cruise or big ship, right? Who is traveling for the 100 kilometer in say 10 days, right? The big ship is there who's used to carry the lot of passengers and the logistics supply from point A to point B. But that solution is viable. It's taking 10 days, right? But it's not a performance efficient. How could we make it a performance efficient? Is only when we increase the power of the engine. So if we increase or improve the power of the engine, that again, that solution, which is a big ship, would travel that 100 kilometer distance now from 10 days to 2 days, right? So that is how we are improving the performance level. So on the other hand, a low performing but potentially valuable solution such as a core process that is inefficient can be enhanced to increase its performance level. If the measures are not sufficient to help stakeholders determine solution value, the business analyst either collect more measurements or treat treat the lack of measures as a solution risk. So if you remember in a previous slide, we talked about the key performance indicator to measure how well the your website is performing on Google pages or Google search, right? There we talk about investment per revenue per investment, talked about the click-through rate, right? So if those key performance indicator or the conversion metrics are not enough for the stakeholders to give a value or to make a decision on, the business analyst explore more matrices or more conversion matrices or indicators, and to give more visibility or decision making power to the stakeholders so that they can find the value in that. So the last line talks about the same thing. If the measures are not sufficient to help stakeholders determine the solution value, BA, business analyst, either collect more measurements or treat the lack of measures as a solution risk. Now, the second element is the risk itself. The performance measures may uncover new risk to solution performance and to the enterprise. These risks are identified and managed like any other risk. So how to manage the risk? You can accept the risk, you can transfer the risk, you can mitigate the risk, right? If that is a positive risk, you exploit that risk, or you share that risk. So these type of things you can do with the risk. The another element is then trend, accuracy, and the performance variance. So the trends is basically to give you example of trends. Trends are basically when we compare the things from the past, the how the pattern is working, right? If we talk about the currency conversion rate, so from for the last 2-3 years, we find out the trends, how the graph is going on, whether it's positive, negative, giving. So these are basically the trends, right? When analyzing the performance data, business analysts consider the period when the data was collected to guard against anomalies and skewed trends. So whenever the business analysts try to collect the measures or try to determine what measures he has to, what key performance indicator he has to set, in order to set those, he used to study, explore, analyze the data to come to the conclusion. So for that, what he do is he collect the data points from the history and try to analyze those and try to see the trends, and then finally, come to the conclusion. A large enough sample size over a sufficient time period will provide an accurate depiction of solution performance on which to make decision and guard against the false signals through. So let's say we are talking about the 1 year data, and in 1 year data we have found that during the Christmas season the sale is high, right? But on the other on the other months the sale is not high. So that is just 1 year. But is it really correct that during the Christmas only sale is high? For that, the business analyst has to go back to the last 2-3 years data and then see during the December of every year if the sale is high or not. If that is high, then he can easily conclude, yes, that the trend is actually saying the same thing. So a large enough sample size over a sufficient period of time will provide an accurate depiction of solution performance on which to make decision and guard against false signals through brought about by incomplete data. Now talk about the accuracy. The business analyst test and analyze the data collected by the performance measures to ensure their accuracy. To be considered reliable, the result should be reproducible and repeatable. This is very easy, that something you are testing and the result should be the same. For an example, if you're driving a car, right, and the car is committing that it would give you a mileage of let's say 15 kilometer, right, per liter. But now when you drove your car and you found that it's giving different, right? Sometimes it's giving 11 kilometers, sometimes it is giving um, 9, sometimes it's giving 15. So that's, a lot of variance is there, so that's not accurate. So that should be reproducible. Like if they have committed 15, so in every drive of the per liter of the gas should give you should travel to the 15 kilometer, not 9 or 10, right? So that's the accuracy you have to talk about. Performance variances. So these are the performance variances, like we are identifying the, whatever the expected, whatever desired or expected, and something which is actual that you realized once you are in a future state. That difference is a variance, right? And why that difference is there? For that, what you have to do, you have to do a root cause analysis, that is RCA, to determine the why the significant variance is there. And based on that root cause analysis, you would arrive on a solution recommendation for improving the performance. The third points talk about this recommendation of how to improve the performance and reduce any variances. So who are the stakeholders now? Domain subject matter expert identify the risk and provide insights into the data for analyzing solution performance. Then the project manager. So when we are talking about the risk, right, it could be a risk there that you are not able to arrive on a performance measure to measure the performance of a solution, or there is some data issue or something. So whatever the risk is there, the project manager takes all those risks in a risk register and is responsible to manage that risk. Then the sponsor can identify the risk, provide insights into the data and the potential value of a solution. They will make decision about the significance of expected versus actual solution performance. So a sponsor is like the godfather for the project, so he take those decisions as well. Now, what are the techniques we use? Acceptance and evaluation criteria. To define acceptable solution performance through acceptance criteria, the degree of variance from these criteria will guide the analysis of that performance. Now, benchmarking and market analysis, to benchmark the performance, to observe the result of other organizations employing similar solution when assessing risk, trends and variances. Then we do data mining to collect the data, regarding performance trends, common issues and variances from expected performance level, and understand patterns and meaning in that data. Then interviews to determine expected value of a solution and its perceived performance from an individual or a small group perspective. Then we have metrics and the key performance indicator to analyze solution performance, especially when judging how well a solution contributes to achieving goals. We have observation to observe a solution in action if the data collected does not provide definitive conclusion. We have risk analysis and management. It is just to identify, analyze, develop plans to modify the risk and to manage the risk on an ongoing basis. Then we have root cause analysis to determine the underlying causes of performance variances. And then we have survey or the questionnaires to determine expected value of a solution and its perceived performance. So these are the techniques. We'll talk about the techniques in detail in our upcoming sessions, but I'm still waiting from your end that which techniques you want to cover first. So that's it from solution evaluation, the second activity, which is analyze performance measure. We'll continue with the next activity in our next video. Till then, take care. Goodbye.